Hey everybody, we're going to talk knives today. We're going to talk about the knives that we always have with us. Some probably don't have too profound of a reason for being with us. It's just boys like knives. Well, girls like knives too. People like knives.
And they're a very important tool.
They are. I mean, all joking aside, they are.
They're something we use in probably 95% of our videos. We're just going to talk about the knives we have, kind of why we like to carry them, and
I'm going to tap into some things as well that aren't necessarily just knives. So
we'll say knives and cutting tools.
Yeah, sharp implements. So I might as well go ahead and start with this guy. So these are nothing new. This is a Fisker's. This is nothing fancy. I've put this thing into the test between you know, camping, bushcrafty type stuff, and hunting. I use this to clear my shooting lanes from my tree stand. It's kind of rusty. It's been used and abused, left. I've actually dropped it in the woods and left it for a few days while hunting. This thing, for whatever the $20 investment that it was, this thing is absolutely fantastic. All right, let's talk choppies.
So both of us have some type of Hatchet Tomahawk in our bag.
His looks cooler. Mine is just kind of on the minimalist side. This little hatchet is a workhorse. I've got the end that I can pound in steaks or whatever. It's nothing special. This is actually my grandfather's, so it is old, but this thing's been through the ringer too, just like the saw. It takes a beating and just keeps coming back. So keep it on a little belt loop. It is high carbon steel, holds and takes an edge really well.
I believe it's a cold steel rifleman's hawk is what it's called. I really like it because, yeah, got a little hammer on the back. Holds the edge pretty nice. If you want, you're feeling a little squirrely, you can throw it. It's Tomahawk. We have a video on how to do that, so.
Compare the size. So this one might be a little easier to carry, but in the end, as the workhorse, this is the one. It's not an axe, but it's getting closer. It's got a much longer handle, more weight. So it's more of a workhorse than this guy. So this would kind of be the finesse tool. Just to each his own on that.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk little squirts now. So this is my little neck knife. This is a little CRKT minimalist. I don't even know why. I really don't. If I'm being completely honest, I really don't. I like the blade shape. Just looks kind of badass. Like I can use this to fight a badger or something. The name is correct. It's minimalist. But it's one of those things I can throw it around my neck and it's like it's not even there, and I have something. This is not my go-to blade by any means. And again, a great little shank.
So I also have a couple neck knives. This is one that I made in a survival class. It's a really little nice neck knife. It's about 4 inches long blade. I really like it. The neck knife I really like to carry, it's actually on my neck right now, is this little guy. It's got a really nice small blade. I don't really need anything bigger than this most of the time, so.
One thing I want to point out, I don't know if that'll focus and you can see it, the brand. Good old Mora.
Both of these are Mora blades, yeah. And I know Scott has a couple Moras, but.
Yeah. On the Mora topic, this is as traditional as you can get. That's totally factory Mora. We don't have to do anything to, you know, to beef up their reputation. They carry an excellent reputation because they're excellent knives. In terms of bang for the buck, you cannot beat them. They come pretty dang sharp.
Yeah.
You can make them ridiculously sharp. Nice blade for doing all kinds of bushcrafty stuff, whether you're cutting notches, carving a spoon, whatever. The blade is not too beefy. That being said, this one has been batoned. I mean, they're solid enough to hold up to a lot of abuse. Can't beat Mora knives.
Yeah, and the cool thing about Moras is you can either buy them factory made or you can buy the blade blanks. You can buy a Mora, use it as is, or you can buy a Mora and make it your own. That's what's so great about these.
I never leave without a Mora, ever. This knife, like I say, the little shank, who cares? This, every single time I go out, not just bushcraft or camping or whatever, hunting, great skinning knife as well. I never leave without my Mora.
So I have two kind of belt knives. I have this one right here. It's kind of a, I've heard people call it a Laplander's knife. This is just one I made. It's a birch bark stacked handle, about a 4-inch carbon blade. I really like this one. It's nice. I mean, we like knives. You probably like knives, so we're just kind of showing off our knives. It's got a wooden core sheath. We're surrounded by leather. We're actually working on a video to show you how I made this. It has a belt loop, so you can kind of slide it around a little bit easier than you might other knife blades. The sheath is also really nice and tight. That's one thing I really like about this sheath, is it'll just hold that blade nice in place because just of how tight the leather fits around here. But this is a knife I use a lot. I really like it.
I said I never leave home without the Mora. That doesn't mean I always use it. I actually probably use this one more. I got a similar sheath going on, kind of similar to Taylor's. Got the same kind of belt loop going on, snaps, easy to take on and off. Mine doesn't have any core. Mine was just molded to the knife, and then it's just got the standard leather welt in there. But this is the Little Ugly. I made this one. This is 1080 high carbon steel. I don't know if you can see. There's not much grind on this at all. It's a beefy blade. For no bigger than it is, this is 1/8 inch, and it's 1/8 inch almost all the way down, and then it tapers down to a secondary bevel. Holds an edge really well, but it's super beefy because I can use this thing for anything. I could use it for a pry bar if I wanted to. I know you're not supposed to, and sadly I have, but it withstood it, so that's cool. Be no bigger than it is. It's just a workhorse of a knife. I know I can baton this thing, I can do all kinds of stuff, and I don't have to worry about it. I love this stupid, ugly little knife.
So this is my workhorse knife. It's quite a bit bigger than some of the other knives I've carried. A little bit bigger than this one. This is one of the first knives I made. I really like this. I've batoned some stuff that I probably shouldn't with this. Like, we're talking big logs, but this thing has held up really nice.
Good old Scandi grind.
Yeah, Scandi grind.
Hard to beat.
Yeah. And I found that this is about the biggest knife I need. You guys probably like to pull out your knife and this is a knife, but this is about the biggest knife I've needed for everything. Between this knife and this little neck knife I carry, I can get just about anything I need to done. So these are kind of my two go-to carry knives right here.
All right, so another guy in the arsenal. It doesn't get pulled out very often, but I do like this knife a lot. Just kind of a patch style, really traditional stylings in every way. I've still got the fire scale in there. This is another one that I made. This is 1080 as well. There's a lot of steel in that blade, so it's super tough. It's just a basic do-all kind of knife. So this guy being high carbon will throw sparks. I like this one just because it is so classic. I don't know, this is what I imagine, you know, the Rocky Mountain fur trappers pulling out of their pack and using. So I don't guess nostalgia is the right thing to say, but it just, yeah, it just feels good. It feels good having it. I made it. I know how it was made. I know there's a bunch of steel there, and I just know they're tough, if that makes sense. Like, I don't doubt these knives. You should not be taking a knife out that you doubt. Your axe, your knife, whatever, you shouldn't have any doubts in it. You should just know it's going to do.
You're relying on it. You
right.
want to be able to rely on it.
You're totally relying on it. You know, in many cases, your life could depend on it. This guy, just a Gerber, nothing special, cheap. I really like the knife itself. I like the shape, I like the grip, I like the handle, I like everything about it. And it's just in my pack as a I don't give a crap knife. I mean, for the most part, I trust it. Gerber makes good knives, but I don't have the same faith in this knife that I do in the other ones. But I've got it in my pack just because if something happens to this knife, who cares? I don't care. Like, if I'm bored, I'll sit here and throw this at a tree or something. It's not a big deal. If I've got something that I need to do with a knife that I don't want to use one of my other knives for, I'll use this as the I don't care knife, if that makes any sense. So this one's in the pack. I don't really use it much, but it's in there. I think the biggest thing for me, from my viewpoint, is to have knives that you just really trust, that doesn't mean it has to be a $3 million boutique knife. I mean, I trust Moras completely because I've used them. They've never let me down, and I think this dude was like 20 bucks,
Yeah.
25 bucks shipped.
What knife should I get? Buy a Mora. Buy 2 Moras.
Yeah, no doubt.
Buy a couple of them. If you really like them, then you can move to the point where you buy a Mora and make your own handle. There's something really nice about carrying a knife that you made yourself. It's really satisfying. You like pull it out and start using it, and you're like, I made this.
Yeah.
I'm pretty cool.
And I'll be honest, it took me a long time to get to the point where I trusted my knives. So this one's made pretty much from scratch. That being said, I've got to a place now that I totally trust them. This, I mean, in the long run, if you were to buy this from a knife maker, it's going to cost a lot more than that Mora because they have a lot of time in this. Knife making, it's something that you're either going to love or hate because it's a different type of craftsmanship. It really is. It's hot, it's messy, it's insanely tedious.
And fun.
Only if you think like us. We both like making knives. Not everyone does. It's not for everybody. But if you were just to buy this knife from a knife maker, you're going to pay a lot more than you would for this Mora. At the end of the day, I trust this Mora just as much as I do this knife. This knife has sentimentality attached to it because I made it. I mean, I made everything on it. So it means a little bit more than this, but I trust this just as much as that. So long story short, get a knife that you personally are comfortable with. Buy some, take them out and abuse them. Or watch YouTube videos. There's tons of YouTube videos out there of different people taking knives and just putting them through the paces. They're using them for things they've got no business ever using a knife for, just to prove that they're tough and dependable. So this guy, the Mora, this, if you're just getting into bushcraft, trust me, this will not be the first time you hear that name or see this
I
knife.
mean, you can tell we like Moras. I think
Mora. I've got more Moras inside, with the exception of that crapper Gerber that I threw over there, and this little CRKT. Everything else we've got is high carbon. Now that's something kind of to each his own. I'm not going to get too long-winded on it. Me personally, it's got to be high carbon. High carbon in terms of throwing sparks, hitting off a ferro rod, edge retention, all of that. I think high carbon is where it's at. So that's one big theme here, in that all these knives, including the ones I made, including this hatchet, including that tomahawk, are high carbon. So high carbon. Get high carbon.